Yes. That's it, yes. If you sit to one side. There we go, how's that? I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Ragnhild from Oslo. She's a medieval art expert, historian, yes. And she feels that perhaps her paper is a bit unusual for this particular session, but I'm sure it will fit in very well. And which seafarer state is it we're going to be dealing with?
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
Yeah.
So I'll just pass you on.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me be part of this conference. Yeah, well, I'm also a doctor, but being humble and Norwegian, I didn't put it here, I see. But I've been working mainly on French late medieval manuscripts. But this paper is more a prelude to a project connected with one of the churches dedicated to St. Nicholas in Norway. So when this opportunity came, I thought I'll try to broaden the context a little, digging into this seafarer's saint. The cult of St. Nicholas, as I say in the short presentation that you will have, was spread in Scandinavia in the last decades of the 11th and the first decades of the 12th centuries. And it rose rapidly. Judging from church dedications, the cult of St. Nicholas eventually rivaled that of the Virgin Mary in many regions. And because the medieval cult of saints was not limited to the liturgy of the saints themselves only, it was also a wider social phenomenon where political and dynastic links, as well as cultural and trading contacts, were influential in this dissemination. So in this paper, I will look at the dissemination of church dedications, as well as representations in artifacts of St. Nicholas, made and used in the North Sea area. And I also set out trying to answer, although I soon found out that many persons already answered that question, which of these phenomena were more crucial for the rise of his cult, if it was by trading or by other means of communication. St. Nicholas is supposed to have been Bishop of Myra in the 4th century, and the first sign of a cult devoted to the saint dates from the 6th century. In the 9th, he was one of the most venerated saints in Orthodox East, of course always, except for the Virgin. He is the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, pawnbrokers, and students. And in the Latin West, we see the cult established in Ottonian Germany in the 10th century. That is testified, by for example, in the Latin Lives of St. Nicholas, written by Reginald of Eichstätt between 966 and 991. In 1089, the saint's relics were abruptly translated from Myra in Asia Minor to Bari in Italy, which was one of the important crusaders' ports. So this is where the relics, or most of the relics, are today, in the Basilica di San Nicola in Bari. And this is how the tomb of St. Nicholas look today, while as we can see in this painting from 1425 by Gentile da Fabriano, it used to be elevated. Here we see the crippled and sick hoping to be cured while visiting it. So there has been a great change in the exposition of these relics. The foundation of the Norman state in southern Italy, around Bari, has been seen as crucial for the dissemination of the cult in Normandy, and from there, being the patron saint of sailors and merchants, St. Nicholas became the tutelary saint of the Normans, and they also became the main agents popularizing his cult in England and Scandinavia. although the promulgation in England may, according to one of my Oslo colleagues, Hilda Garixano, also be due to influences from the Rhine region, so unsolved question. As for church dedications, there were more than 100 churches and altars. I haven't been able to see how they spread, which were churches and which were altars dedicated to the saint in Denmark. But he was the patron saint of the Dominican convents in Helsingborg, Helsingør, Odense and Aarhus. And according to the writer Saxo Grammaticus and his Gesta Danorum, it was Erik Eiegud, which you can see on this coin. He was king of Denmark from 1093 to 1103. He went to a pilgrimage to Bari in 1089, and on a second pilgrimage, the year he died in 1103, and he sent relics of St. Nicholas, also from, he went to Bari and also went to Jerusalem. He's supposed to have sent relics from, of St. Nicholas from Byzantium to his native town of Slangerup. As I already said, the relics were then already in Bari, but some of them may have been kept in Constantinople, close to the imperial palace. Saxo's story, of course, is impossible to verify. It may be that relics in Slangerup had a Byzantine provenance, or it may just be that this story was invented by Saxo in order to glorify the ancient and recent Danish kings and sort of equalizing them to the Byzantine emperor. What we do know is that after the foundation of a convent in Slangerup dedicated to St. Nicholas, 8 or 9 churches were dedicated to him in 12th century Denmark. And we also see that whatever the motivation, the spread of the cult of St. Nicholas was due to the Danish royalty, so royal links, dynastic links, and to the king Erik Eiegud. In Norway, the spread of the cult of the saint also seemed to have been caused by royal mediators. And the earliest church dedications in Norway are from Trondheim and Oslo. They are both from the early 12th century. A very bleak map. Oslo around 1300. What is, how can I point? No, okay. We have 2 churches here very close to each other in Oslo at the time, and one is dedicated to St. Nicholas and the other to St. Clement. And both of them were erected very close to the royal castle, which is in the lower part here of this map. The earliest written source for the Nicholas Church is from the mid-13th century, and it's mentioned in the saga of King Håkon Håkonsen in connection with a fight that took place in Oslo in 1240. Some scholars believe that the reason why we have these 2 churches very close to each other is that one was erected by merchants for their own special purposes, while the St. Clement Church, built side by side, was erected by the townsmen themselves. And that is also the one that later became an ordinary parish church. In Trondheim, a church dedicated to St. Nicholas was founded also in the royal palace by King Eystein Magnusson, and that was while his brother Sigurd Jorsalfar traveled to Jerusalem, also visiting England, Iberia, Sicilia, Byzance and Germany in the very early part of the 12th century. And this is also according to saga evidence, the saga of the sons of Magnus. We also have a church of St. Nicholas in Bergen, which is mentioned in written sources as existing already in the 12th century, and that too was founded by King Eystein, so we have a double patronage there. in all in Norway, we know of 13 churches dedicated to the saint, and they are mostly to be found along the coast, by lakes or larger rivers. And the ones that are not, they are in towns. So as he was also the patron saint of merchants, we have a very, the map fits very neatly to his patronage. In addition to the 3 in Oslo, Bergen and Trondheim, of which there are no remains, the 3 largest towns in Norway at the time, there was also one in Sarpsborg, which was a merchant center. Of the rest, 5 of them were placed directly on the coast, or, as I said, close to lakes or rivers. The only exception being the one that I will soon start working at, the St. Nicholas in Gran, which is in inland Norway. It's an hour north of Oslo. It's situated on a hill, rather remote, although it was a merchant center in the Middle Ages. And here again we have this peculiar thing of 2 churches being erected almost side by side. It's St. Mary and St. Nicholas. St. Mary being the older one. It was they started to build it in the late 12th century, while St. Nicholas is 30 to 50 years younger. And talking about cult, here it looks like St. Nicholas I, so to say. It's the larger church. It's the one on your right. Not necessarily so in daily practice, of course. If I have time for a short funny story, I'm baptized in St. Nicholas, by the way. My parents are from the area. When I grew up, I was told that these churches were built by 2 sisters. It was Mary and Nicola, and I said, but Nicholas, that is a boy's name. No, in the Middle Ages, even girls could be called Nicholas. And they were enemies, so they could not go to service in the same church. So it's why they had this double church process. This, of course, has nothing to do with reality. In fact, we do not know. There has been quite a lot of research, but a definite answer to why we have these 2 churches is still not really accepted by. There is not one solution that is accepted by anyone. It may be perhaps like in Oslo, one for merchants and one for the countryside persons. Yeah, we do not know. But in Norwegian they're called the sister churches, so that is of course because of this story. As Nicholas was such a popular saint in the Middle Ages, among other things due to his generosity, it is worth noticing that almost, as I said, all these churches in Norway are related to sea, lake or river. One could have expected that there would have been more churches also in the inland with no proximity to water. And when this is not the case, except for this one in Gran, it may be a sign of the church builders and the people that they knew his sort of right patronage. In Iceland there were 44 churches and chapels dedicated to St. Nicholas, and in England, according to Francis Bond's list from 1914, there were 437, as you see, making him the 7th most popular saint in dedications. In the Orkneys there were the St. Nicholas Holm, the St. Nicholas Hoy, the St. Nicholas Orfir and the St. Nicholas Stronsay. And the one in Stronsay was situated on the Earl's Boardland farm of Holland, while St. Nicholas Orfir was located within the same complex of buildings as the Earl's residence. Of this one, the Orphic Church, we still have the remains of this Romanesque church, built as with a circular plan, with an east apse, and this is, perhaps you all know, unique in Scotland as being the only medieval round church, and it is perhaps based on the model of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. The church is mentioned in the Orkney saga and can be dated between 1090 and 1160. Apparently, this round church plan was inspired directly from visits to Rome and Jerusalem by Earl Håkon Paulsson and the Crusaders Earl Ragnhild Karl-Karlsson and Bishop William the Old. Of the other Nicholas churches, William Thompson calls it an exciting idea that some green porphyry discovered at St Nicholas Chapel in Papastronse was brought as a sort of prestigious souvenir from one of these travelers to the Far East, to Jerusalem. So, although being the saint for travelers and seafarers, in the Orkney too, the church dedications to St. Nicholas are very closely associated with the earls, and they must be said to sort of reflect their preferences more than anything that has to do with trade only, as in Denmark and Norway. In worshipping St. Nicholas, more important than church dedications were the artifacts, of course, that were carrying his image. So a few of those. This is a statue now in the Museum of Cultural Heritage in Oslo, made of oak in the last quarter of the 13th century, and it is a traditional representation of a bearded bishop. Probably he had a stick in one hand and the other hand raised in a sort of blessing gesture or holding a book. The bishop, he wears an alb chasuble, he has a dalmatic clavi, and over his right arm, as you can see, he has a red sudarium with black borders and gilt ends, so it's very minutiously painted. And this Nicholas statue comes from a mountainous parish church in Norway, Eidsborg. We know it's a Nicholas statue because it's written below it. It says Niklus, so it was really understood to be not any bishop, but Nicholas himself. And it was highly venerated in this Eidsborg parish. As late as 1837, so long after Reformation, it was on St. John's Eve in June, carried in processions across the neighboring fields. It ended in that year only because the statue was taken to Oslo, to the museum. And it's a statue quite easy to venerate in such a way. It's 1.5 meters in size. Another statue, which is also in this museum in Oslo, St. Nicholas, belonged to the Hasmund Church in Akershus. This one is more damaged. It has a mitre, also a dalmatic, but without a clavi. What is called an amictus around the neck, and the shoes are particular for liturgical outfit. The speciality with this Nicholas is that he is very individualistic, with a sort of sharp curved nose and very nicely carved eyes, half open mouth, and sort of unruly short hair. So here too, it's more than being a St. Nicholas as an idea. They have tried to perhaps put him more as an individual person. St. Nicholas, it's sad that the photos are very small. You can also find one of the stories of his miracle on an altar frontal from Kaupanger, which is also it was a small town in the Middle Ages, situated by the sea. Here we see the miracle of the story of St. Nicholas and the three merchants. So here there are the sailors. when he is resurrecting 3 merchants, which you see on this side. They're killed by the landlord and the landlady in the inn that they're sleeping. They're lying here, they're there with an axe, while here they raise from sort of a large tub. While in Denmark, jump to conclusions here. Being the seafarer saint, one of the miracles that is mostly represented in medieval art in perhaps all over Europe, but at least in the northern parts, is the miracle of the life of St. Nicholas, where he is saving sailors lost at sea, which in the Legenda por area you can read that the blessed Nicholas was at the Council of Nice, that would have been in 325 AD, and on a day a ship with mariners were in perishing at the sea. They prayed and required devotedly St. Nicholas, servant of God, saying, "If those things that we have heard and we said be true, prove them now." And a man appeared in the likeness of St. Nicholas and said, "Lo, see ye me not? You called me," and he began to help them in their exploit of the sea, and the tempest then ceased. And this is what we can see here in the Ragnhild Church from Jutland in Denmark. This is early Gothic mural. It's also represented in a later version in Untitled Church. All of these paintings are from Danish churches. You find the same boat scene in Vigerstad Church and in the church of Nere Herlev. You also see him appearing to the mariners. In this latter church, you have, in fact, a sort of veritable picture book of the miracles or wonder-works of St. Nicholas. So, in addition to saving these mariners, he is also saving 3 virgins, which are about to be sold because the father cannot pay their dowry. Here again, he saves those 3 merchants that were killed. And this is his funeral. And in liturgical use or in devotional practice, St. Nicholas was called upon by a very widely disseminated hymn called Congregantes Exotemus. So you would call on him, and I came here by boat, so I could do it. I'll go on by plane, but it's still a port, we say airport. So you can all say, "O beata Nicola, nos ad portum maris trahe." Blessed Nicholas, bring us to the port from the fear of death. Bring us to the port. Tucitot auxiliaris pietatis gratia, you who help everyone with a sort of merciful mercy. Or, yeah. So, this very short introduction to St. Nicholas showed to me, when I set out, that it was not really, his cult was not really spread by trade, but by dynastic preferences or interests, at least in the beginning, that he is very much present in church dedications and sculptures and murals. Although associated with the aristocracy in the initial years of his cult, the imagery of the saint lends itself also very easily to churchgoer of lower classes, as all these murals, for instance, from the late Gothic periods, they're all found in rather small parish churches. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ragnhild. That was extremely relevant and very interesting indeed. Thank you for the photos as well. Some of these painted Orphic churches. Very nice. Yes. I was just wondering, it's very interesting you talked about the how his cult was a sort of dynastic, aristocratic
Yeah.
thing. And I've been wondering about connections or interest in orphany amongst the Jarls and possibly connections in Normandy. And do you think there are? Could you tell us a little bit more about his cult in Normandy?
I cannot.
But you said he's very important there as
Yeah,
a
he
tutelary
was.
saint.
No, I jumped right to the North Sea area, so no, I haven't read. I just understood that after the occupation of the Bari region by the Normans, that they very quickly, adapted him. Don't know why. No, I haven't looked into that.
That's okay. That's something exciting to look into.
Yeah.
And thanks very much also for connecting his cult to Orphic Church.
Yeah.
So, any questions? Yes.
My experience with the circular churches comes mostly from England, and in that case, the reference to the Holy Sepulchre is often very explicit through dedications to the Holy Sepulchre or Christ Church. Is there any indication that there is a Nicholas cult in Jerusalem that would have made that an appropriate dedication to a round church in Orphic, or?
No.
Okay.
Two things that just were mixed in Orphic.
There are also other instances of double churches. You mentioned the one in Oslo, St Magnus in Nicholas, and the one in Gran. Yes. Are there also other instances?
No, but it may have been more. There may have been more, but as of it remains, of course, in the town centers there will be like Oslo, very close. What is strange in Gran is that it's really countryside, so you could have built those churches anywhere and still you stick to this very, and that is unique in Norway.
Brian, do we know of any dedications in Shetland?
Not offhand, no.
Well,
Where
if-
is Gran in
Yes.
Norway? Where is Gran? Gran is in Norway. Where is it?
Sorry?
Where is Gran?
There is Gran.
Yeah.
It's an hour north of Oslo, quite in an area called Hadeland.
An hour north of Oslo.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Dr. Boo.
Yeah.